Hello and welcome. I am Deji. Now, of all the executive orders Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has issued since he came to power in 2015, none has generated so much reaction like Executive Order 06, which is the latest he issued. Executive Order 06 basically empowers the government to restrain owners of assets on the probe from carrying out further transactions on such properties. The order, according to the government, is to tighten the loose ends in the fight against corruption, as corrupt persons are also devising strategies, different strategies now, to frustrate the government and ensure their cases drag on in court for almost forever. But the Executive Order 6, or 06, I should say, did not come without scaling a legal hurdle. Two lawyers had actually challenged the order at the Federal High Court, Abuja. They contend that the president is usurping the powers of the court with the executive order, which they argue contravenes the principles of separation of powers. Justice Ijoma Ojukwu, however, did not agree with the lawyers in her ruling. The judge affirmed that the president has the constitutional powers to issue the order as long as it does not encroach on the principles of separation of powers. Now, although Executive Order 06 seems to give the Attorney General of the Federation the power to summarily seize or confiscate property, the court said before that discretion can be exercised, the Attorney General of the Federation must always first seek the permission or approval of the courts, and that he just can't act on his own. Now, that's the ruling of the court. Following from that court ruling now, the president issued a restraining order on about 50 high-profile Nigerians with pending corruption cases in court, preventing them from traveling out of the country. The government did not release any list of these high-profile Nigerians, but the media has been awash with several lists containing some known names. The Nigeria Immigration Service and other security agencies have been asked to place the 50 high-profile persons on a watch list and restrict them from leaving the country pending the determination of their cases in court. Now, it's this aspect of the executive order that is now generating so much heated controversy and debate. The presidential candidate of the opposition PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has described the ban as a throwback to the notorious, in his words, evil Decree 2 of 1984 enacted by the military government under Buhari. He says the ban is capable of impacting negatively on the economy. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana says the travel ban should be withdrawn without any delay. He also says the executive arm of government is not empowered under the law to restrict the movement of criminal suspects. Quite a number of Nigerians too feel the order is more political and targets the opposition. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has described the ban as arbitrary, repressive, and illegal. The body says the directive breaches constitutional rights and the country's international obligations, which protect the rights to freedom of movement, to leave one's country, to privacy, and to due process of law. But the government, of course, has strongly defended its decision, saying it is not in any way a witch hunt against political opponents, but that it had to take the drastic action to ensure corruption cases do not continue to drag on in court for ages. Joining me now to discuss more on this issue is the Executive Director of SERAP, Adetokunbo Mumuni. Also joining us on the program is Olayinka Oladaniels, who is a lawyer. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with you, Mr. Mumuni.
Thank you.
What exactly, because there's something I need to get clear. Are you against Executive Order 6, or you're against the whole idea of imposing a ban on some Nigerians, preventing them from traveling out of the country?
Thank you very much. The truth of the matter is that even if by propensity and inclination I was opposed to Executive Order 6, there is a judicial confirmation of the fact that the president has the power to issue that order, so that the competence of the president to issue it has been judicially confirmed.
Confirmed, yeah.
The question then is the implementation of Executive Order 6. And that is what the minders of the president want us to believe. It's as if they are saying that pronouncement of the court gives them the power to now impose restriction on movement of people outside the country.
And the court ruling cannot be construed to give that kind of...
Exactly so. Exactly so. So what I am saying is this. Once a court of competent jurisdiction is in control of the matter, that court has the power, the inherent jurisdiction to make any order in respect of the matter that is controlling. So, if you decide that the certain position should be confirmed by that court, you simply go before that court and bring the appropriate application.
So in other words, what you're basically saying is that, look, if an individual has a case or the federal government is pursuing a case against an individual before a court, it's up to the federal government, for instance, to seek the leave of the court to prevent that individual from traveling out of the country,
so that it will be,
and not just make a blanket pronouncement.
So that it will be on a case-by-case basis. Exactly so. That's the point I'm making. Because every court of competent jurisdiction that has the power to try a case also has the power to make any order that you think appropriate in respect of the case.
So in other words, you're not disputing executive order 6.
Not at all.
It's the implementation. Can I get your own take on this now?
Well, not too far from Mr. Mumni. I'm not disputing that. Mr. President has the power to go on order 6. The judiciary has affirmed and confirmed that yes, the power exists and subsists. That is clear.
But
the process. Now, we have number of Nigerians that are going through trials, corrupt trials and all that, and we have some temporary forfeitures of some properties, some temporary restraining people from moving out and all that. I think that should take care of what we are talking about here. Now, this is an individual, and it could be anyone. The question I ask when people say, oh, they are witch hunting on some, I ask, if you call it witch hunt, the question is, did the person commit that offense, or is the person going through trial on that particular charges that we are talking about?
Which is a
so,
yes.
Yeah, if it is yes, so what is the witch hunt there? Having said that, if we then pick, I don't know, don't let me assume that I know the list.
The list.
You know, don't let me assume I know the list. But the list could involve anybody. It could be anyone that is culpable or anyone that is allegedly said that, oh, yes, he's been involved in corruption here and there. It could be anyone could fit in. But whether it belongs to any political party or non-partisan or whatever, anyone that is found there could be one of them. Now, if you have a list, you're restricting a particular set of people in court, and the constitution is clear, because I want to see how we're going to manage or marry Section 5, Section 15.3, Section 36, and Section 43 of the Nigeria 99 Constitution as amended. I'm trying to see how we're going to marry all this together. Yes, you have power to do this. But then, how do you carry out this power without infringing on Section 36, that the fundamental human right of an individual, as in saying that you can't go out without the court order? Are we sure that this order is not also contravening the principle of separation of powers?
But the court can actually restrict the movement of an individual.
Very well.
That setting.
That is certain.
Yeah, we've seen the court. The court has done that on several occasions.
There's no dispute about that, and that's the reason why we are saying, since the court, yes, no, not at all, because the Constitution has given room for also the court to do that. The separation of power. If though, don't forget, this part of this order was stated there. I think the president made emphasis on, if anybody have any issue with this order, the person should go to court and seek redress in court. Then, I think the federal government or Mr. President should go to court first to get the leave of court and the order of court to restrain me from traveling, and not telling me that I cannot go out. I should
go to court to get the permission of the court to travel.
I expect the government to go to court to get the order of the court to say I can't travel, than telling me, when he has stopped me from moving, denying me of my own fundamental human right, then now telling me to go to court and seek get the order of court to say what they have done is wrong.
Okay.
How do we marry this?
I mean, it's a difficult thing to really understand. But let's face it. Let's look at the reason the government has given. It says a reason it's done this. Part of the reason is because it wants to ensure that most of these cases that have been dragging in court for ages now, that they get concluded very quickly. So if you make the situation inconveniencing for these individuals, they probably would look for ways to get their cases speeded up, and so that they could get out of.
Let me tell you straight away that in any litigation contest, whether civil or criminal, there are three parties to the case: the court, the judiciary, the protagonist. Let's call him the plaintiff or the prosecution, and the antagonist. Let's call him the defense. Now, whether a case will last very briefly in court or it will last almost forever in court is the business of the court. It is not the business of the executive. You see, when the
executive cannot compare.
Exactly. Nobody
can actually not do anything about it.
Yes, you have to arraign people in court. Your business is to prosecute them effectively. The business of the judiciary is to now sit in between and decide the cases. And again, we have had constant adjournments on behalf of the prosecution, which is the government side. We have had constant adjournment on behalf of the defense, the senior legal writer that are defending accused persons. So that a case will take time to finish in court is the work of a judge who must be the master of proceeding in his court, who must be ready to control everybody and everything before him.
And that you don't need this imposition of a tribal ban.
Yes, because to me, the president cannot be talking about what belongs to the judiciary. That would be contrary to separation of powers principle.
Another aspect, I mean, because it appears, if you ask me, the whole debate has been about this issue of travel ban, and people have not been talking about the other aspects of the executive order as well, which, in my opinion, I consider something positive, and I want you to react to that. This issue of restraining, people from using assets now that are under investigation or subject of litigation now, preventing them from using those assets. What do you make of that?
Well, I have a mixed feelings on that. And I will say this. For instance, let me just bring in this.
Pending the determination of these cases.
Let me use this. ANCOM takes over some of properties and all that. And the question I ask, when they take them over, what you see, they seal them off. So it deteriorates. Is there nobody's using it? And the question I ask, why don't you let this thing go on? What you take over this property, but let the property continue with generating whatever is generating. Then you can take money.
That's a different case. That's a different case, because in this case now we're talking about an individual. For instance, I accused you of that you probably bought a house, and then I accuse you of stealing the money to buy the house, and then I say, look, because I have taken you to court, that the house itself is a subject of litigation, and then I say, okay, you can't transact, you can't do any transaction on that house. For instance, you can't sell the house pending the determination of the case. Is that not a good thing?
Thank you. That is what the order is saying, that AG, Attorney General, takes over, more like coming like an AMCON person, take over, then make sure that this man is not making anything from this. So whatever you make, pending the determination of the matter, like you said, get it done. But not that you shut, like an hotel, not that you shut it down. The hotel is not doing any business. Your point now. Because I'm talking about the economic factor.
No, I understand your point. Your point is that, look, if the government is taking over temporarily, the government should let the business run and then keep the money.
They keep the money. That is the angle I'm looking at it. But it's also a positive one, is a good move, because left to me, this is my personal opinion. So everyone that is involved in corruption, stealing our money or whatever it is called, I would not just want you to go to court. I want to strip you of everything you acquired through that by the time we are done with the matter. Note, that is by the determination of not that during this and I strip you off of everything. No. Because Everything may not be what used to. You may have your own genuine, but everything that you obtain from corruption you should be stripped off of everything. So how then they go about it is another key point that we must look at.
I'm going to come back to you. Yeah, let me get you.
The point that should be made is that expropriative powers should not be given to the executive. It is the business of the executive to enforce law. Let the court make such pronouncement. I don't agree that it should be the minister for justice that will say, don't go to that property. If the minister for justice says you should not go to that property, you should go to the court. Make the
but of course, I mean,
make the application.
But in any case, that's exactly what the justice to even do that. We have to
but that's what I'm saying. That the judge actually said that. But what I'm saying is it not something very positive? Because
it is. But I insist that what the judge said in upholding the validity of Executive Order 6 must be followed. Go to court if you want such an order.
So I mean, so basically, what it means is that, and the judge actually made it quite clear. It's not as if it's automatic that if a building is a subject of litigation, the Attorney General of the Federation just goes there to take it. Of course, and you know, I mean, we've seen cases where the federal government actually, you know, took over control of through a court order.
Yes.
And in some cases,
so what is wrong with that? Going through that again? That's the point you are making.
Okay, now let's look at this whole idea of corruption itself. You look at some of these measures being taken by the government. How far-reaching do you think they would be?
Let me say this and let me make it clear. There's nowhere in the world any government will genuinely fight corruption. The people, the corrupt people,
powerful,
corrupt people are in the government. The government that wants to fight corruption, tell me how genuine the fight will be. And that's the reason why they've given, they've given room to people to say it's witch hunt. That, it's turning towards some particular set of people because some of them know what they know. And there's no government in the world that it would genuinely fight corruption because government itself, most of the people that are in the cabinet of any government are corrupt. These people bring out briefs, they bring out contracts, they get kickbacks. You see what they do, they will influence price, they will see. And I'm sure so far the list they talk about, I don't want to assume that it came from federal, but the list, we don't think there's any name from this cabinet in that list. So they want to tell me that the government fighting corruption is clean. And if we don't have that, there is no how far we can go. I have always said this, that this government is only recovering funds. They are not fighting corruption.
But if you recover funds, it's something positive.
It's positive, but you can't call it fighting corruption. It's positive because I'm glad about that.
No, because at the end of the day, anyway, there has to be an end to this.
Yes.
If at the end of the day, I don't think it's just enough, for instance, to convict people.
Yes.
Yeah. You convict people and you don't make recoveries. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yes. You see, when you say, let me say straight away that.
And that's the reason why, if you ask me, I would say plea bargain is not a bad idea anyway.
No, it's used all over the world.
Everywhere.
But let me say this. I don't want to presume that corruption is the major problem that we have in Nigeria. But I want to confirm that corruption is one of the major problems that we have in Nigeria. So whatever this regime does to sincerely confront corruption, I am all in support of it.
And there's no way one government can bring an end to corruption.
Thank you very much.
It's a continuous process, but a foundation has to be laid.
Let me tell you, if the government that went before this regime has done anything in that light, this government will just build on it. What we have seen over there is that nothing happened in earlier regimes. And that is why this government say, I want to tackle it frontally. So whatever this government must do, it has to be done and it must be supported. But whatever must be done due process of law ordered by Justice Ojukwu must be followed.
Must be followed. All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I know you wanted to say something. We've actually done 20 minutes. You won't believe it. Wow. But very quickly.
Yes, because I wanted to say I would differ a bit about the past government not having a foundation on fighting corruption. Not that they didn't fight at all. Probably it was not seen as being demonstrated because the body language of this particular government says it's fighting corruption, and that is on that basis was what brought them to the to the table. But saying that the past government didn't fight at all, I may not really agree with that. Okay. But is it like you said, is a process, and this government, we see what is happening. Like you said, I'll agree with you on this one. Every due process must be followed. In as much as I don't want these people and I want them to be nil, but you must follow due process.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll switch gears. We'll be talking about security matters. Stay with us. On Deji 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
The Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country?
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that band.
Deji 360, providing clarity to issues.